Aloha, good morning. This is Karumbi Davis of Karumbi Realty International, and very excited this morning. We have Jane Goodsill back with us, and as you may remember, she was the author of Voices of Hawai'i and Preserving Island Culture, and she has a follow-up to that book coming out here. It's on the ship, I understand, Preserving Island Culture, and just welcome again. And I'm very excited. We're coming into the holidays, and I don't know about you, Jane, but the traffic out there has got horrendous.
It's beginning to get big.
It's beginning, and I think people are, now that we can get out and about and see our friends and family more and go Christmas shopping versus, internet shopping, we're starting to see those crowds come out. And of course, I wanted to bring you back this morning because this would be a really neat Christmas present for your family on the mainland. And we're going to find out a little bit more about Jane's second book, and then we'll just, show you her first book. It's available for Christmas presents. So, yeah, you're so welcome. So why don't, tell me about the new book.
Well, I'm going to start by the first book. The first book had a subtitle called Life Stories from the Generation That Shaped the Aloha State. And in it, I told stories from my father's generation and other people who were from that generation. And then it turned out I had more interviews, and they were so interesting that I couldn't keep them to myself. And the first book was a success. The way that I set up my books, it's called Voices of Hawai'i. And then each chapter is called Voices of the Old Days, Voices of Development, Voices of Philanthropy, so on. That was in the first book. So we got ready to publish the second book, and I said to the publisher, we can't use the same subtitle. We need to use a different one. He said, why? I said, because this is not all stories of the people who shaped the Aloha State. This is more stories of the people who preserved the Aloha State. So show the second book cover.
Okay.
And you'll see that the subtitle is Voices of Hawai'i, Preserving Island Culture, One Story at a Time.
Very neat. And I think, with all over the world, we're trying to preserve the culture of where the lands come from, and this is going to be a really neat second book. I could see that because it's how the people are out there really trying to keep it together out the culture for Hawaii.
It's quite different. This book is quite different in my mind, though it has the same format and it's easy to read, little vignettes, charming stories, happy feel. Some of the chapter headings for this book are Voices of Families, Voices of Riders, Voices of Forest and Gardens, Voices of Flowers, etc.
Nice.
And so I thought it might be fun for your audience if I read an excerpt from Voices of Flowers.
Great. That sounds okay with you? I'd absolutely love that. Go ahead, please.
Okay. The person I interviewed is Karen Lau Lee, who runs Cindy's Lei Shop, which probably everybody knows about. And if you don't, you should. So this is just an excerpt from hers. She says, traditionally, the flower farming business was generational. You bought pikaki from this family, the uncle, a couple of brothers, a sister team, the mother, the grandmother were the backbone of the business. We didn't even know the word vendor. It was just, Auntie so-and-so is going to drop off the flowers today. Then suddenly, it seemed that family units got fragmented. People started sending their kids away to college, and they no longer wanted to be in the flower farmers. Whereas a child might have supported the family by sitting down with grandma to help fill an order for 20 ilima lei, now they are directed toward other career choices. Families struggle with becoming slave to the demands of the farms. You have to pick puakinikini or ilima or pikaki regularly to keep blooms coming. If you go on vacation for a week, lack of care will affect bloom and harvest of the plant. And consider the cost of keeping the plants watered and fertilized all year long. Not to mention the time grooming and manicuring prior to stringing. After the kids went away to college, with parents aging and neighbors complaining about the smells and side effects of pesticides, many families were discouraged and pulled out their plants to build a rental unit, a garage extension, or a concrete walkway, or even worse, sell the property.
Oh, we like selling properties. But no, we
didn't realize that was in
culture.
She said, we have a hard time getting stringers. I have 4 or 5 people, including my 90-year-old mother, who string our lei. And you know, in Hawaiian language, there's no S. So when you say lei and you use plural of lei, you still say lei. You don't go leis. Just note. She said, we used to get our roses from California, mini carnations from Kula, and Vanda orchids from Hilo. California has so many problems with their agricultural economy, environmental laws, water regulations, and the cost of real estate that they have priced themselves out of the market. When a small local grower gives up, we are suddenly getting flowers from South America.
Oh, wow.
It is dismaying to me that there are fewer and fewer local suppliers and more international suppliers. The cost of products imported from Thailand is so much cheaper. Roses, orchids. Oh yeah, you can show some of the pictures.
That's what I was going to say. Beautiful lace here.
They aren't all from Cindy's, but some of them are.
Oh,
Isn't that
stunning.
beautiful?
Absolutely stunning.
Isn't that beautiful? So anyway, she goes on to say.
And can you explain the flowers used here?
Well, on the outside, it's probably a quadruple ginger.
Yes.
And on the inside, I believe it's pikaki with roses.
Yes.
Doesn't it? Can you just imagine
Stunning.
the smell?
Absolutely. And then the green is the plaited vine.
I'm not sure. The green might be tea leaf. I can't.
Tea leaf.
Really
I think
see.
it's tea leaf. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, this lace, stunning.
Yeah. Now, this may not have come from Cindy's. I may have just gotten this. Somebody sent me a picture of it. I don't know what it is, but it's beautiful. So anyway, let me go on. Roses, orchids, not yet. Not to the next one yet. Roses, orchids, and cymbidiums come from Ecuador, South America. Importers deliver to our door and make it very easy to do business with them. But as we become more globalized, the local people who might have stayed in the business are disincentivized because they can only provide a small portion of the massive volume we need. This has happened with avocados, mangoes, even pineapple, right? Businesses which require inexpensive labor are dying out locally. For the longest time, we resisted trying to be loyal to the local vendors. But it got to the point where it was no longer cost effective. We still carry a lot of local products like Ojai, Ali'i, Pikaki, Ginger, Tuberose, Pakalana, but even those are beginning to wane. Now you can show the next picture.
Great.
This is a very demanding business, truly a labor of love. Hanoi Miller, right here, who dances at the Halekulani Hotel, has a standing order for us for her lei. She insists on wearing lei made with locally grown flowers. She lives her values.
Nice.
Gives me chills.
Yes.
So one more thing. One grower explained to me how she would stagger her planting between parcels A, B, and C, so there was a constant yield. Since she had no idea when COVID-19 restrictions would end, she let her workers go and stopped planting and harvesting. Suddenly demand was high again, but she could not make her plants bloom overnight.
Oh, wow.
It will soon be graduation time, and the orders are pouring into Cindy's Lei Shop. I tell everyone, no guarantee. I hate that because I don't want to disappoint the families and people who have been loyal to us for years. Mm-hmm. You can go to one next of the slide. We did see a nice trend developing over the COVID years. Customers would advise us to leave a boxed lei for a birthday, or to commemorate a loss, or just an I love you or I miss you. Another interesting observation is that many new people are moving to Hawaii who are truly interested in lei. It's very cool that these mainlanders are awed by the beauty of this art and the tradition of lei giving. So my personal motto is save the lei. This is Cindy is saying, and not Cindy, Cindy's daughter Karen is saying this. My personal motto is save the lei. By that I mean save the future of the lei industry, nurture it, sustain it, and preserve it. My goal with our business is to be the real deal. I'm trying to keep its originality and relevance. And it's so hard, Jane. The struggles in this business are immense. I dream of creating programs like teaching the art of lei making to select populations as a way of keeping it going and to provide employment. For example, senior citizens, the incarcerated, a juvenile delinquent program, youth wanting to learn a skill and to make money. And the final paragraph is, a happy story is now emerging about our dream to save the lei. Brooke Lee is a former Miss Universe, a local girl, and a hula dancer. She is spearheading a grant to get money to build up farming for flowers, specifically for lei making. Part of continuing the Hawaiian Renaissance is nurturing this business. Hopefully, some awareness of the issues related to this business will materialize. If people don't look at this now, in 10 years, we're not going to have a lei industry.
Wow. Yeah.
We hear a lot about sustainability and caring for the aina. How about the flowers and the vines?
Absolutely. I know. We forget about where these flowers come from, don't we?
Yeah.
And it's an incredible tradition. It's been going on.
It's an incredible tradition. And the fact that being in the agricultural business is not appealing to our youngsters because they've been educated, they want to do other things.
Yeah.
It makes this, it's possible it could be become a dying art.
Oh, well, let's hope that, through you, writing this book, bringing this out to people, and people will start supporting this program a little more.
And another thing I wanted to say is, in this book, instead of interviewing people who, were fundamental in the development of how the state evolved, I interviewed a lot of craftspeople, like the lei maker, and the flower grower. That's another chapter. And the guy on the mainland who's from Hawaii who makes all the feather capes. And a lahala, you pass the lahala tree on the corner of your street every day, and you say, yeah, that's a lahala tree. And then you see the lahala mat or the hats woven of lahala, and you go, yeah, that's what they are. But do you know what's required to get from the tree to the ground, to your hands, cleaned, and to be prepared to be made into something? Well, one of the people I interviewed tells us about that.
Oh, incredible.
And another person tells us about how you make kapa cloth, which is an amazing process. So I interviewed a lot of craftspeople for this. And so it's a fun book in that way.
Neat. Just to bring in awareness, I think we're all running around so crazy again, now that we're allowed out and about. And I think just taking some time and understanding, the process of this and, just in life, just thinking things through before we act on them sometimes, maybe a message there. But just to share the rest of the photos here, Jane, I know that you have some other photos here that you've brought today.
This was a party that was given to me by Shaw Thompson when the first book came out with Nina Raposo. And they're in this book too. There's Voices of Waikiki, Voices of Hospitality. And I interviewed some of the old timers who were around back in the day when they were beginning to sell Hawaii, when selling Hawaii was a really great thing to do. Yeah. So that's what that picture's for. And then some subliminal advertising that it's Christmas. And if you'd like to buy a book, we have a link. And then the link, we're going to put the link there, and it comes, very, very nice. It's a great Christmas present. Yeah, great Christmas. At this point, you'd think it'd be the easiest thing in the world to get the book on Amazon, but it's not. And if people want it before Christmas, because it's just coming out now, the easiest way to order it is from Watermark Publishing, and they go it's bookshawaii.net. And they will, if you're local and you're ordering it from Hawaii, they will ship it to you free. Nice. And if it's to the mainland, there's a small surcharge. But that's the quickest way. Well, this was a real treat to hear about the lei, and the industry behind it. And thank you so much. And we look forward to the second book coming out. And I know we're going to have you again here in a few months for other topics that you've written about. And thank you. And everyone have a wonderful weekend. And we'll catch up next week. Aloha.